Come in.
So guys, welcome to No New Star Trek. I was just thinking this morning, we have gotten no new Star Trek in years. Seriously, really, you say? Are you crazy, Will? Maybe you're thinking of a mirror universe, right? Multiverse madness. No, my Trekker and Trekkie friends, my dear Star Trek loving friends, I'm serious. I submit that the last real Star Trek show was Enterprise. And I didn't even really love Enterprise, but that was the last real one, and here's my case. Okay. 8 years ago, going on 9, we had what? Star Trek Discovery, Disco. Now, Disco was set about 10 years, a decade before the original crew, and it's about Discovery, the USS Klingons, whatever. Then it jumps 930 years into the future, whatever, you figure it out. Point is, it's a prequel, and it's a weird kind of mutated beast which never caught on, and I don't really like prequels. I don't really consider it really new. Now, Enterprise is a prequel as well, but it was much better integrated and fit into the original series and the Next Generation timeline and, characters. All right. Then we have Star Trek Picard, Jean-Luc Picard. Now, this is about 20 years after him being retired as an admiral. You figure it out. Again, as we know, pretty much another fail, though. Fans do love season 3. It's not my cup of tea, but okay. It's not my cup of Earl Grey, but they like it, fine. Okay. But again, I don't really consider it Star Trek. I consider Star Trek Exploration, the original series, Next Generation. Deep Space Nine was more war, but it had it, and also Voyager, and even Enterprise. It's exploration. Picard had none of that. Had season 3, Easter eggs, nostalgia, and a weird twist of the Borg and changelings, and you figure it out. Okay. Then we had, in no particular order, but I guess Lower Decks and Prodigy. Now, you can like these shows. Nothing wrong about it. But, and I love animation, but I don't consider that real Star Trek. Or certainly, as opposed to, say, back in the day, we had Star Trek, the animated series. What was about 2 or 3 years after the original series. Gene Roddenberry created it, head writer. That was an attempt to be Star Trek in animated form. So I do consider that pretty much like a fourth season, a lost season, because it was trying to be Star Trek. Prodigy and Lower Decks have nothing to do with Star Trek. Well, Lower Decks certainly tries to integrate. It's all laughs, ha ha ha. It's all parody, satire parody, right? Okay, and then Prodigy. I guess you could consider that kind of. Is it truly exploration? Is it really finding new life forms and being scientifically minded and exploring? I don't think so. And then we have, of course, Strange New Worlds, which came out about 3 years ago. And that, you could argue it is Star Trek again, but all it is Star Trek from back in the day. It's repackaged. It's flashy. It's been polished up with a couple new characters. It's just old Star Trek, sort of, which it's great in one way. It could be, but I don't really consider it a new show or new Star Trek. It's certainly not new, even though you could make a case that it's exploration, right? And then, as far as new Star Trek, or sort of, is Section 31, the movie just about a year ago, and that was a big fail. We don't have to even mention that. We don't talk about Section 31. I guess that's how it is in the Star Trek universe too. You don't talk about Fight Club. You don't talk about Section 31, right? You just don't. And in terms of this movie, bad. Okay, so that's a bomb. And, I guess you could consider it somewhat new Star Trek, maybe. And then finally, or while it's coming, is, of course, Starfleet Academy. And that drops in another 4 or 5 months. Well, January, New Year's or so, January, February. So we're going to sample that, but I can't see how that's going to be real Star Trek. Why? Because it's not exploration. Well, it's cadets, it's students, it's kids. They've even admitted it's going to be a much lower demographic age, much more that's sort of teens. So, again, hey, nothing wrong with that. Like, isn't that kind of like Prodigy and Lower Decks too? Much lower, no, demographic age, no real exploration. They're going to be running around in a classroom, and maybe they'll be seeking out new life and new life forms and civilizations. I don't think so, though. And again, I can't stress this more, because from Captain Kirk's time, from Captain Picard's, from Cisco, Janeway, these are all crews pro Starfleet paramilitary organizations going out finding new life forms and civilizations. This is Star Trek to me. And yet Deep Space Nine was a departure, and even Voyager 2, but they never, ever didn't still explore science fiction, and exploring new life and new civilizations. They just didn't, from my recollection. And I wrote for Next Gen and Deep Space Nine, and I pitched a lot to Voyager, wrote a couple scripts. The point is that my premise, I think, is sound. You can challenge it. We have had no new Star Trek, truly what I consider in most fans as Star Trek, since Enterprise. And you could say of varying qualities. You can like Picard and Disco and even Strange New Worlds. You can like these shows, but my premise is they're not new Star Trek. They're not what Gene Roddenberry, 2 times original series, Next Gen, Michael Piller, Rick Berman, all throughout Jerry Taylor, what they created and shepherded for all those years. That's Star Trek. To me, cartoons and rehashes and weird sort of twisty prequels and students and 90210 in space and, Saved by the Bell in space, that's not Star Trek to me. So what do you think? Is my premise sound? Or am I loopy into the multiverse of Mira Mira, huh? Give us your thoughts. Give us your feedback. Hope you're enjoying. Hope you're subscribing. See you soon.